They are the Insiders, Darren Dreger, Pierre Lebrun, and Chris Johnston. In his year-end media availability today, CJ, Leon Draisaitl said, "I love being an Edmonton Oiler more than anything," but that was about it. Didn't give up much in the way of his future and what it could look like despite the best efforts of the Edmonton media group. What can you tell us about where this stands, because a negotiation is about to happen?
Well, what he also did say is that it's going to take some time, he believes, to figure out what he wants and what the Oilers want. And the good news about that is I think both sides are on the same page. Yes, Leon Draisaitl can sign an extension as of Monday, as of July 1st, but that's not a deadline. That's really the starting point. And I think the Oilers front office is willing to be patient here, allow some time for obviously everyone to process the loss they've just gone through in the Cup final, to figure out where their priorities lie, and ultimately to get down to some contract negotiations. But this looms as a huge decision, because walking him to free agency, I don't believe is their preference. I'm not sure they'll even allow that to happen. We'll see how things progress through the summer. But they're going to deal with their UFAs first, then get to Draisaitl after.
And speaking of dealing with their UFAs and Leon Draisaitl, I mean, who is doing those dealings inside hockey operations? We know that, part of the exit interviews that were conducted by the Edmonton Oilers, Ken Holland did have a conversation with Jeff Jackson, who is the head of the department. And our understanding is that, look, Ken Holland will not be back with the Oilers. His contract expires. Perhaps he wants to move on to new challenges or into retirement. Either way, that's his option. I expect that Jeff Jackson will address this with the assembled media here in Vegas.
Pierre, Steven Stamkos is one of those players where it would make sense for him to go wire to wire with one team in his career, but sometimes it just doesn't necessarily work out that way. What is the situation surrounding Steve Stamkos?
Well, status quo is the official update from Steven Stamkos' people in Newport Sports. Within that, I can tell you this. I mean, Tampa is going to have to change their offer, and that still can happen between now and Monday. In the meantime, there are a number of teams that are lining up hoping they can talk to Steven Stamkos and Dom Mee and his agent come Monday when the market opens. Among those teams, I'm told, is the Nashville Predators, who have serious interest in Steven Stamkos. They need an offensive upgrade for their team, and I believe that Barry Trotz, the GM, will want to be in that mix if Steven Stamkos goes to market. Obviously, Steven Stamkos would like to remain in Tampa if possible.
Well, and there's bigger offers among those other teams right now, just waiting to be tabled. And one I would keep an eye on is the Detroit Red Wings, who have freed up money with the Jake Wallman trade they made this week. The belief is that they're one of the ones that are lining up to take a run at 91 if he hits the open market.
Boy, some pretty good players potentially out there on the trade front, Dregs. Is Mitch Marner one of them? Like, what are the Maple Leafs going to do here? It's been all over the place since the playoffs finished for the Leafs.
Well, there's never a shortage of speculation around Mitch Marner and the Toronto Maple Leafs. I might question how much of it is valid in terms of that speculation, how much of that information is correct. Here's what we know. We know that there's ongoing dialogue between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Marner camp, but be mindful of the reality here. Mitch Marner has a year remaining on his contract. He looks forward to playing that year for the Maple Leafs. He looks forward to playing for new coach Craig Berube. Craig Berube is looking forward to coaching Mitch Marner, but that doesn't mean that Brad Treliving isn't going to have trade conversations about Mitch Marner. Marner controls the process with the no move. I can tell you with certainty, Brad Treliving is more focused on bringing in at least one right shot defenseman, maybe two if he can swing that deal, and obviously some depth in goal as well. That's his focus.
Eric Tulsky, welcome to the big chair. Here's a to-do list about 15 items long. Pierre, he's going to have to prioritize here, and Martin Necas has to be near the top of that.
For sure. I met with Eric Tulsky on this day for a sit-down for The Athletic, and I said a year ago Brad Treliving had just been on the job for Toronto, and he told the media he was drinking out of a fire hose when he got to the draft in Nashville. Well, guess what? The fire hose has been passed on to Eric Tulsky. Several teams are still in on Martin Necas, and that is the priority for Eric Tulsky. Obviously, he couldn't get into details on that, but what I can tell you from other league sources, there is one team that has jumped to the front of the queue, and that team has a pick dangling in Friday night's first round, and that could be the team that completes a deal with Carolina within the next 48 hours. If not, I think Carolina is ready to keep him. If they're not going to force a deal if no one's willing to ask that price. I will say this. I think the Buffalo Sabres could be that team. They're among the teams bidding hard on Necas. They have a lot of interest. We'll see if it's them. In the meantime, Carolina is still trying to re-sign Jake Guentzel, and Tulsky told me today that's a huge priority for them. They continue to make new offers. They believe they have a shot at signing him. What they can do that no other team can do is 8 years. But in the meantime, we know Vancouver, among the teams waiting and hoping for Jake Guentzel to get to market on Monday.
All right, and finally, CJ, some question hanging out there about qualifying offers due to some of the players tied up in the London case, and some clarity there maybe from the NHL and the PA.
Yeah, that's 4 players involved in that were charged in that sexual assault case in London, most notably Carter Hart of the Philadelphia Flyers. Normally, if a player doesn't get a qualifying offer, he becomes an unrestricted free agent. But there is ongoing dialogue with the league and the union about perhaps treating the qualifying offers different for these players while the legal process plays out. That hasn't been resolved just yet, but obviously with the deadline coming Sunday, in the next few days, I expect clarity there, and there is a possibility that no decisions have to be made until the case in London is sorted through.
All right, lots to weed through over the next couple of days. It's going to be fun. Those are the Insiders with Insider Trading.